Welcome to the P.A.S. Report podcast. If you're tired of censorship, outraged by government abuses, and thirsty for real insights, then you're in the right place. Get ready, because here, the fight for freedom never ends. Here's your host, Professor Nick Giordano.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the P.A.S. Report podcast. This is your host, Nick Giordano. I'm glad you could join me. Make sure to follow and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Also, visit the P.A.S. Report website, pasreport.com, and share it with your family and friends. I have a great guest coming on. I have Zeek Arkham, been on the program before. He is someone that really understands a lot of the problems that we face, and he's not too happy about the latest election results. So I wanted to bring him in to ask him what he thinks is going to happen in New York. Zeek, welcome to the program. First off, how are you today?
I'm good. It's a nice Friday morning. It's getting colder, which I like the cold weather. So I'm enjoying all of this, you know?
Well, I wanted to have you on because I want to get your thoughts. I mean, here you have Mamdani that overwhelmingly won the election. We can't deny that. We saw the largest voter turnout since 1969. And I saw your post that maybe it's about time to escape from New York. So what are your thoughts on Mamdani and the direction of the city?
I mean, this is a guy who could not condemn Hamas, which is a ground ball. You know, they're a legitimate terrorist organization, and he couldn't go against them. You know, he couldn't condemn them. You know, this is also a guy he's going to have free buses and city-run grocery stores, and he wants, to cap housing, and he wants to, he's got all these ideas. But the biggest one amongst them is that he thinks that the NYPD, which is a great organization, a great department filled with a lot of great people, filled with a lot of cops who are generational, fourth generation cops who do the job because it brings pride to them and their family. He thinks they're a racist, homophobic organization, and he wants to do everything he can to bring them down in a city where they're already abused, in a city where a large part of the government is openly anti-cop, in a city where they're already understaffed, in a city where they're already going through so much because of just the volume of people and the dwindling numbers. So he wants to do more to destroy their morale, to destroy the men and women there. And I've talked to cops outside of New York City I was talking to a state trooper yesterday, and he said he doesn't even want to go into the city to make an arrest. So, this is the same department who they had a law where they prohibited cops from effecting a certain type of arrest. And the law was so odious that every department outside of New York City, including mine, like I said, I can't say where I work, but including mine, said, do not go in there to make an arrest. So, I mean, it's bad. And now he wants to do this. And my post basically said that the cops are going to be facing this isn't even an uphill battle anymore. This is climbing Mount Everest. And it's going to have a huge effect on the rest of the city, despite everything he wants to do that has potential to bankrupt the city, or at least put the city in a bad financial bind, because of course socialism, it's never worked before, but it hasn't stopped anyone from saying, I'm going to be the one who's going to actually try it and be successful. And socialism is going to destroy the city, but the socialist policies, the socialist practices, the socialist philosophies are going to be the things that really destroy the city.
Yeah, and I want to get into some of those policies, but to continue with law enforcement, from your contacts that you speak to, do you expect a lot of people putting in their retirement papers to leave?
I'd be heavily surprised if they don't. I know a few guys who work there, and they've all told me, hey, listen, it's not looking sustainable. So as soon as I get my time where I can retire, I'm at the point where I can retire, and it looks like I'm going to do so. Or you have guys who are just saying, I'm going to explore other options. You've got guys who are going to stay. I'm not saying every cop is going to leave. You've got guys who are going to stay. You've got guys who are in too deep, who just want to do their time and make their pension and leave. But I can't see this being sustainable. I can't see an openly anti-cop mayor. You know, I said this is worse than de Blasio. De Blasio spent his entire career clout chasing. His entire administration was trying to get to the next level of whatever he thought he could get to, whether he wanted to be some sort of Democrat top runner or whether he wanted to be some sort of socialist a spokesperson or whatever. His entire career was spent trying to be the guy to be next. You know, he thought he could run for president. He thought he could run for Congress. He failed at both miserably. But that's what he spent his entire administration trying to do. He was clout chasing.
Yeah, and let's
This
be
guy-
honest, de Blasio is just dumb. You know, when you look at Mamdani, he's much smarter, privileged life, but much smarter than de Blasio was. Now, when you lose all those senior retired officers, because the ones that are at pension or close to pension, when they get to leave, you lose all that institutional knowledge. At the same time, we're also going to see a problem with enlistments, right? Recruitment's going to be a disaster. So isn't Mamdani going to kind of get what he wants just by the nature of him being mayor, where they're not going to be able to fill recruiting classes, and so he's going to shift the budget towards social workers? And the second part of that question is, when a 911 operator has to route a call and decide, should it go to the social workers or should it go to NYPD, how dangerous is it going to be for social workers in New York City?
Oh, it's going to be extremely dangerous. You know, they're going to be going to jobs that could turn sideways in a minute, which is why you send the cops there, which is why you send an armed officer to this job. Because, I mean, I forgot exactly where it was, but look at the wellness check that happened where the cop knocks on the door and there was a former WNBA player. She answered the door, but she answered the door and within a second, she's swinging a knife. You mean to tell me a telephone dispatch operator is going to be able to decide just based on a description whether to send a social worker or whether to send a cop? I mean, you know, I hate to say this because I don't want to see anyone get hurt, but a social worker is putting their life in danger if they think they're going to answer a phone call, a 911 call, and everything is just going to be hunky dory. You know, everything's just going to be okay. You know, these jobs that cops go to, where people who have mental problems, who there's something off with them, just to put it in the way that just is acceptable to everyone. Something's off with them. They're not functioning correctly, and things can turn sideways in a minute. Any cop who's responding to these calls can tell you that. To send an unarmed social worker who isn't going to be in shape, isn't going to have the tools to really physically take someone down, is a recipe for danger. As far as experienced cops walking off the job, that's happening now. You've got detectives, you've got higher ups who can look at a job and can pretty much assess what it's going through. You have new cops coming on the job who were trained and who were taught by these old cops, these older cops were passing down knowledge. If the average time on the job for a cop is now from 10 to 5 years, they don't have the necessary experience to be able to teach a younger cop how to handle a job. So that's another thing you've got going against you in an administration that's going to be openly anti-cop, who wants the older cops to leave because they think those older cops are a danger to the profession somehow. This is what you've got going on now. And you know what? Like I said yesterday, he's won. He's won. Cops are fed up. Cops are human beings. And you can't keep abusing cops like this and expect them to stay and want to keep doing the same job they've been doing for the past 20 years.
No, especially when we've already seen the qualified immunity be stripped from police officers. They could be held personally liable. It's a dangerous job going into some rough neighborhoods. And I want to talk about that on the flip side of this break. So everyone hang tight. We'll be right back. Are you ready to move easily and independently without pain and stiffness holding you back? Do you want to look in the mirror and see a hydrated glow instead of more fine lines and wrinkles? Well, discover Native Path Collagen, made with only type 1 and 3 collagen fibers. These are the two most important types that make up 90% of the collagen found in your cartilage, bones, skin, hair, nails, and gut. They provide maximum benefits, and Native Path Collagen is a single ingredient formula with no fillers, additives, or artificial sweeteners. Plus, it's third-party tested for heavy metals, ensuring purity and safety. Completely flavorless, Native Path Collagen can be added to anything: coffee, smoothies, smoothies, oatmeal, you name it. It doesn't clump, it absorbs fast thanks to its peptide formula. And the best part, Native Path offers amazing bundle deals at a fraction of the price of other brands. With over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, 8,000 5-star reviews, and a 365-day no-risk guarantee, Native Path is a brand you could trust. They offer an 800 number for any questions you may have, and then you'll speak to a real person who's there to help. Visit getnativepath.com/PAS and start your transformation today. That's getnativepath.com/PAS.
Welcome back to the P.A.S. Report podcast. I'm with Zeek Arkham. Zeke, we were talking about the deteriorating situation with law enforcement under a Mamdani administration, but let's look at some of the socialist policies that, as you correctly stated, have never worked anywhere in the world. We could go anywhere, and they've always failed, right? Yet somehow, some way, they say, well, he's going to implement them differently, and it's going to work this time. We all know it's not. When you strip away buses and subway fares, what's the subways going to look like?
Oh, it's going to look even worse than it does now. You're going to have every homeless person down there riding the subways back and forth. You're going to have every person with mental incapacities riding the subways, talking to whoever they talk to, getting involved in stuff. We saw the whole thing that happened with Daniel Penny, where someone who was mentally incapacitated was going around threatening people, and he had to step in, and they made him into the biggest villain out there. And he wasn't doing anything wrong. He stepped in where you want a capable man to step in. You're going to have more of that going on now, except now there won't be Daniel Pennies out there to go in and step in, because they've villainized the type of man who steps in and makes sure that everyone's safe. And with a reduced police force, now all you're doing is putting people in danger. Now you're doing is making the subways and the trains and the buses unrideable for the common New Yorker. So he's got these tall ideas. Just to finish my thought from earlier, Bill de Blasio, he's not dumber per se than Mamdani. The Mamdani isn't smarter, but Mamdani is slicker. And Mamdani doesn't have to reach for clout. He doesn't have to, because he's already got the clout. You can see that because Bill de Blasio, is still trying to clout chase by tethering himself to Mamdani now. So, he doesn't have to clout chase. He's free to do whatever he wants. And was he 34 years old, never had a real job except to be a assemblyman, never passed a bill. He was a failed rapper. He's got rich parents where socialism works as long as it's not your own money. He's not going to give up his parents' money, but he wants to give up everyone else's money. For this kid who wants to get out there now and be mayor of the biggest city, and he's going out there saying, I'm going to give you free this and free that, and I'm going to empty out Rikers. I'm going to make these crimes unprosecutable, because crime is just a social construct. Elections have consequences. And I would say within a year, New York is going to really start feeling those consequences.
Voters get the government they deserve, and they made a decision. I think they'll come to regret that decision. And when we look at it, Mamdani's a fraud. Let's be honest about it. He is a guy who grew up in a life of privilege, and yet he's sitting in a rent-controlled apartment for $2,400 a month, where that rent-controlled apartment could go to, a family that's making $60,000. Now he's going to go into the taxpayer-subsidized Gracie Mansion, and he's looking to basically punish the people that work hard, people like yourself, people on Wall Street. He's looking to punish people that do the right thing. One of the things he intends to do is cut the honors program, the honors and gifted program of New York City. And so when you see that those that do the right thing get punished, what does it say about the broader society, not just here in New York City? This became a national mayor's race. And what are your thoughts on people like yourself that work hard, that do the right thing, and ultimately you're the one that gets shafted?
It's funny because Thomas Sowell, in his book, Discrimination and Disparities, already covered this, where you cut the honors and gifted program, you put everyone in the same class, and you wind up dumbing down the class. De Blasio tried to do that with New York City's specialized schools, Stuyvesant High School, Bronx Science, and he said that you have to start admitting students based on the population of the city. So you might have an Asian kid who scored a 92 on their entrance exam, but that Asian kid can't get in because they want to let in a black kid or a Spanish kid who scored a 75 on the same test. And now the teacher has to teach towards the middle of the classroom. So the kids who are the smartest and the kids who can handle the workload aren't getting enough work. They aren't being mentally stimulated. And the kid who scored the 75 eventually winds up dropping out because he can't handle the work. So it all balances itself out anyway, because, like I said, the teacher is teaching towards the middle of the classroom, and, the smart kids aren't getting their due. The dumb kids are like, hey, listen, I can't handle this. I can barely speak English, and you want me to learn Latin? So this is what's going on in these classrooms. And now he wants to get rid of talented and gifted. So once again, the kids who aren't in school to learn, the kids who are interrupting the classes, the kids who come from backgrounds where their parents really don't care about education are now being put in a class where a kid who really wants to learn, and a kid who cares about education, and a kid who wants to use his education to achieve more is being hindered because Mamdani thinks that by putting everyone in the same classroom, somehow the dumb kids are going to get smarter, and the smarter kids are just going to kind of just plateau where they are. Again, it's socialism. It's this concept of we're not going to make any exceptions for anyone. There's no one who's smarter. There's no one who's richer. There's no one who's smarter, poor. We're all just going to live in this utopia where everyone is even. And in the real world, it doesn't work out that way at all.
No, it doesn't. And I feel obviously standards have dropped dramatically over the years, period. But I feel it's only going to get worse. And even in something, again, I'll go back to law enforcement. Like, can a 4'11", 350-pound police officer, do you think the qualifications are going to get so low, the requirements to join, where that's what you're going to start seeing? With purple hair, too.
Oh, I mean, listen, first of all, as someone who has worked in law enforcement, I can tell you right now, physical presence means a lot. If a perp is looking at you, they know they can't beat you in a fight, or they know they can't outrun you, or they know they can't get past you or get over you, it's definitely going to hinder it's going to affect their thoughts as far as, am I going to go out there and commit a crime? If they're looking at a cop and they know that cop, they can either beat them in a fight, or they can outrun them, or they can, rob something and run right past the cop, and the cop really can't do anything about it, it's going to bring crime up, and it's going to bring morale down on the job. But again, this whole DEI concept wants to, promote everyone. Let's give everyone this kind of job. Let's let everyone have a shot at it. So again, it's going to affect the police force. And when you have experienced cops, good cops, in shape cops who can handle themselves walking off the job, you're going to say, okay, hey, listen, let's let anybody on the job now. You see it happening already, not only in New York City, but in Seattle, in Chicago, in LA, in Baltimore. You see it happening already, where they just let anyone on the job, and the job standard has dropped. In certain places, they eliminate the 1.5 mile run, the standard 1.5 mile run. That's military, a 1.5 mile run. So you mean to tell me you have cops out there who can't run for 1.5 miles, which is just disgraceful. You've got cops who can't do push-ups because now all of a sudden push-ups are against DEI. You have more laws protecting criminals and more laws impacting what cops can and can't do. So now you live in a pro-criminal society, and you have a mayor who, we said before, believes that crime is just a social construct. I mean, New York City, I always said, these politicians don't lie. They tell you exactly who they are. Bill de Blasio did the exact same thing. He told you exactly who he was. All these mayors, Brandon Johnson in Chicago. I talk to a lot of Chicago police officers every day who are miserable. I've spoken to Portland police officers who are miserable. I've spoken to Seattle police officers who are miserable. But these politicians tell you exactly who they are. They tell you exactly what their policy is going to be. They don't lie about who they are. It's not like they get up there and say, hey, listen, I'm going to be pro-cop, pro-low crime. I'm going to be tough on criminals. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. No, they tell you exactly who they are. I'm going to make laws protecting criminals. I'm going to make laws making cops out to be the bad guys. I'm going to make laws that drive out businesses. And the voters hear this, they go, yay, this is exactly what I want. And then when these politicians go out there and actually do it, the public goes, oh, hey, wait a minute. No, I didn't know that was going to happen as well. Well, he told you exactly what he was going to do.
Yeah, the one thing I'll give Mamdani is he was straightforward. He was honest. He didn't run from being a democratic socialist. He completely said, yeah, I'm socialist. And he understands that a lot of his policies are actually communist. Not even, it goes beyond socialism. They're actually communist. But I want to talk to you about the mindset of the people in these cities. You know, I believe that you're originally from Brooklyn. You look at places like New York. You look at places like Chicago and Seattle. You brought up Brendan Johnson of Chicago. I forget who the mayor is of Seattle and Portland. Those two mayors. These cities continue to get worse and worse. The people are dissatisfied in these cities. I mean, Brendan Johnson's approval rating is something like 9 or 10%, yet the left keeps winning in these cities. What is with the mindset of the people that are living in these communities?
It's like cultish kind of behavior. Vote blue no matter who. This is what happened in Virginia with Abigail Spanberger, who, by all accounts, lost the debate. I mean, flat out lost the debate against Winsome Earl Sears. She's a horrible candidate. It looked like it on paper, or it looked like it in public. She couldn't do anything. But however, still vote blue no matter who. They're going to vote for the Democrat because they've been conditioned, they've been programmed to vote for the Democrat. Look at New Jersey, Jack Citarelli, who was a great candidate. Again, won the debate. We pretty much established the left cannot debate.
Mikey Sherrill was an idiot. I mean, she was a terrible candidate.
Oh, absolutely. And she was corrupt. She was just as corrupt as all the rest of them. Openly corrupt. That's my thing. They're openly corrupt. They don't hide who they are. But we've pretty much established the Democrats can't debate. And they can't really, you can only say so many times, oh, I'm going to be a great person. I'm going to be a great candidate so many times within an hour. There's that old saying, you can fool people for 5 minutes. You can't fool people for an hour. And they can't debate. They had no real policies, but they're going to vote blue no matter who. Chicago, Brandon Johnson, who, again, told you exactly who he was, openly corrupt. He's part of the Chicago's teachers union, which I don't understand why there isn't some sort of federal investigation into it. Because these are the same people who are openly trying to indoctrinate your children. You can see that psychopath who was celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder, and that the big overweight one who was shooting herself in the neck to try to make fun of Charlie Kirk still comfortably has a job in the Chicago teachers union. But
over 2/3 of students cannot read or write at grade level. I mean, the education system has been the biggest failure. The return on investment's pathetic, and there's no outrage about it. It's bizarre to me.
Because again, people in Chicago are just trying to survive. I'm not going to say they couldn't care less if their kid could read or write, but if their kid just makes it home from school in one piece, I think for them they count it as a win. With all the shootings and all the violence that goes on in Chicago, but you've got these people who are openly anti-American and openly anti everything that this country was founded on. Just as a side note, Mamdani made a speech where he called himself, he was like, oh, I'm a socialist, and I'm a this, and I'm a that, and I'm a this. And the one thing he didn't say was, I'm an American. You have Ilhan Omar, who has never described herself, to my knowledge. She might have done it maybe once or twice, during all the years she's been here, who has never described herself as an American.
Somali first.
Yeah, she's always said she's a Somalian. You got the other guy over there. I can't think of his name right now. The alien-looking kid who ran against Jacob Frey from Minneapolis. You see how bad things are when you have conservative Republicans. You have conservative Republicans who are openly cheering on the lesser of two evil Democrats. Look at what happened in New York with Andrew Cuomo. But you have the guy in Minneapolis, the alien-looking kid who openly describes himself. He said, I'm a Somalian. How do you have these people running for office who don't see themselves as American? That's the biggest red flag of them all. But I think
he had Somali flags behind him, not an American flag, Somali flag behind him. And you're right. I mean, there comes a point where it's a loyalty issue. And it's almost as if we allowed all these Trojan horses to get into the United States. And people like Mamdani really annoy me because he could have had a powerful message. Hey,
My parents emigrated to the United States. They worked hard. They were able to achieve the American dream. That's what makes America so great. Instead, he bashes the very country that gave his parents the opportunity to succeed so that he could live his life of privilege. How infuriating is that?
Well, again, it's the basic tenet of Marxism. You're either the oppressed or the oppressor. He's not going to say that his parents had a great opportunity to come here. He's not going to have a unifying message. No socialist will, because it goes against Marxism. He's not going to say that, let's all come together, let's all work together now and try to make this city better, bring it back to its glory days, bring it back to the Giuliani days where the city was flourishing. Crime was truly, sincerely, without fudging the numbers down, where you had a police force that was invigorated and looked forward to coming to work every day because they were backed and supported. He's not going to say all that.
The city was clean.
The city was clean. It didn't smell like weed the second you drove into Queens. You didn't have Long Islanders like people who have been reaching out to me saying, "Hey, listen, I live on the island too, and I am never going into the city ever again if I can help it. I'll go into the city if I have to drive past it to get to the rest of the country, but for the most part, that I'm not going there." He's not going to have that unifying message. His message is going to be, I'm oppressed because I'm a Muslim, because I'm brown, because I'm from Uganda, because I'm this, I'm that. That's what his message is going to be, because he has to be the oppressed. And he's going to convince all of his supporters that they're also oppressed because it gives them something to fight towards.
It really is a shame. Now, do you think that after a little bit of the Mamdani policies that people will come to their senses and say, maybe we got it wrong and we got to go in a different direction? Or do you think that people will just find someone else? Oh, the billionaires left. That's why his policies aren't working. Or it's the Republicans. Not that Republicans have any power whatsoever in the city. But do you think people will start to realize the error of their ways, or do you think they'll make excuses?
Bill de Blasio got 2 terms. That's all I have to say about that. Bill de Blasio, who was the worst mayor in New York City history, somehow got 2 terms. And you had facing him in his second term, Nicole Malliotakis, who we follow each other on X, and she was a much, much better candidate for mayor. You had people who suffered under 4 years of Bill de Blasio who said, you know what, I'll just go ahead and suffer another 4 years because at least it's not a Republican. That kind of mindset makes no sense to me. You've had great candidates come by.
I tried encouraging Vicky Palladino to run in the mayor's race, but she didn't.
Well, I mean, look at governors' races. Look at mayors' races in New York. I mean, it's you've got this blue no matter who mentality, and they say they'll just suffer. What's that quote about? You have Democrats who will rule over ashes and say, you know what, as long as there's not a Republican in charge.
As far as the state goes,
I can't understand that mentality.
I have to ask you, given New York, I mean, Long Island obviously is much redder than New York City. I mean, I'm here in Suffolk County. We are red, and thankfully. Lee Stefanik has just announced that she put together the paperwork and is exploring the governorship run against Hochul. Do you think that Mamdani getting elected as mayor of New York City will help Stefanik in a race to governorship? Or do you think ultimately New York State is toast?
In a logical world, people would see how horrible.
Well, in a logical world, we'd have Zeldin as governor right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, in a logical world, again, Democrats can't debate. So Lee Zeldin destroyed her in that debate that they had. So Lee Zeldin should be governor right now. Curtis Sliwa should be mayor of New York City right now, a man who rode the trains for free. Who rode the trains and protected New York City for free. The Guardian Angels, everyone remembers them. Everyone remembers riding the trains at night and seeing those red berets. So in a logical world, yes, things would be much different. New York would be a very red state. However, in an illogical world, which is where we live, I would love to say Elise Stefanik has an easy road to be governor of New York City, of New York State. I can't say that right now because, again, vote blue no matter who. They'll look at a hot mess like Kathy Hochul and say, you know what, I'm going to still vote for her just because she's a Democrat. And if I suffer, I suffer. And if gas goes up in New York, then gas just goes up. And if people are leaving the city and fleeing the city and we're losing representatives, well, then I'll just accept it. If the entire state burns to the ground, well, at least there's not a Republican in charge. That's going to be their mentality. So I would love to say Elise Stefanik, who is already a better candidate, it was going to win. But this is New York State. I can't say that.
You know, it's so sad when you put it that way, but it is so true. Zeek, where can people follow you?
You can find me on X, which is my main platform, at Zeek Arkham, ZeekArkham. Same handle on Instagram where you can see my videos. I just went spread out to TikTok. On TikTok, I'm real Zeek Arkham. So those are my 3 major platforms. And if you want to hear more of what I have to say, you can find me there.
And we'll have links up at the P.A.S. Report website, everyone. So go to PASreport.com. Zeek, pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the P.A.S. Report. Don't forget to rate, share, and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll never miss an episode. For more exclusive content and updates, visit us at PASreport.com and follow Professor Giordano on all social media platforms at P.A.S. Report.